Welcome to Conversations with Toy, a blogcast tackling life one episode at a time. This is the time to air out life's craziest moments. This space is all about speaking about life's hang-ups and ways in which we can leave better than when we started. Topics are all about ways we can find space to be better in life, love, mental space, and health.
Happy Friday. I hope that you have had the most amazing week. Welcome to Conversations with Toy. I am your podcaster. I also wear a lot of hats. Let's run them through. I am a content creator, influencer, blogger, freelance writer. What else? Social media. I don't even know what you want to call it. I do social media for other companies. What else? My favorite two hats is being a wife and mother of 3 amazing children. And I am super excited to be here. Listen, Linda, listen. I literally recorded last week's episode and I don't know why, but I actually never posted it. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Podcasters know like weird things will happen when you're trying to do what you're doing, but all that is water underneath the bridge. We are here. It is definitely getting colder here in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. I know there's a lot of people that's like, well, I don't live in cold areas. God bless your bones, because my bones need to be extra blessed because it's cold. It's getting a little cooler. But can I complain? No, because we are in October. We are far removed from the summer months. We are in October. And I know we've had a couple of days when it's been like 70 and 80. But those are not really consistent. But we are here in the thick of fall. Fall is one of my favorite seasons. Summer is one of my favorite seasons. I think if I had to put them in categories, I think summer would be number 1 and fall number 2. It used to be back in the day fall number 1, but because of that little chill and cold, I got to put fall to number 2. With that being said, there's so much fun things that you can do in this season. I'm really going to encourage you to get out, get into an apple picking, get out and do some s'mores. Listen, you don't even have to have all these gadgets and widgets. You can literally go to the grocery store, get you some s'more, get you some marshmallows, get all the materials that you need, and just go ahead and make them, right? Go ahead and make them. They're super easy. Everyone should know how to make them by now. And I feel like just little things like that, just creating those memories, even if it's like just a small situation. It doesn't have to be elaborate, although I am like one of those people who does like a little elaborate time and people who put a little bit of energy. But if you're not at that point, you're not at that place. Listen, groceries are high. We're going to talk about that on the podcast today because there's a lot going on in the world that is going to be affecting so many people. And we're going to squash some of the things that I've been seeing online. I'm going to talk about some things that happened this week. So this week, I finally finished Kamala's new book. I absolutely loved it. It only took me, I want to say maybe 2.5 days to finish it. I really enjoyed it. If you don't know, Kamala Harris has a new book. I'm going to pretty much highly recommend that you see it. It's 107 days. And she's talking about her journey from being not necessarily elected, but being able to represent and, go for the presidency. Unfortunately, she did not win. We already know who's in power right now, and I say in power because that's all he was looking for anyway. So we already know who's in office right now, but her road to becoming the president and all of the thoughts that she had, even some of the thoughts afterwards, which I really loved. I just love this book. This book was really, really, one is an easy read. It's very informative. And I loved how when she's talking, she's not trying to be prim and proper the whole time. You'll hear her use a couple of, cuss words if you listen to the Audible. But either way, a very good read. So I highly suggest it. I finished that this week. What else did I finish? The second book for this week that I finished was I Should Be Smarter by Now by Issa Rae. I am truly in love with Issa Rae. And when I say in love with her, I'm talking about not her as a person, but just the things that she does. I just love people who are just like focused and they have their wits about them and they're kind of creative and they're doing their thing. I learned a lot about her and about the process of her shows, the process of her writing, the process of her internet shows that she was doing long before some of the bigger shows took off and movies took off. It was a very good read. And If you're an aspiring writer, if you're aspiring anything creative, I think this is a great listen because she talks about some of those highs and lows. Sometimes we hear all of the highs, we never hear the lows about different things that can happen, especially if you're trying to get into TV writing. And so it was really a great book. Now, last week, because I didn't come before you last week, I actually finished Matriarch by Tina Knowles. So that's 3 books in the last 2 weeks. Listen, I'm on the road to 100. I'm trying to finish 100 books. I believe I have to check it. I'm pretty high up for right now. So we'll see where I land. Right now, I am reading Barack Obama's The Promised Land chapter. I'm in chapter 12 right now. So I got a while to go, but that book is a little thicker, a little meatier. It's, it's got a lot going on, but I'm going to finish it again. I'm on the road to 100. I'm going to see how I'm going to do. I did slack off for a little bit and I picked it right back up. So I'm kind of focused to get my book reading done. And listen, whether you read it, whether you do it audible, however you do it, reading is still fundamental. It is still a good thing to do. And I'm going to highly suggest it, especially if you're working, to try to do it when you're working, because if you're able to focus on 2 things, it's great to do when you're not listening to the podcast, right? Because I want to plug that, right? When you're not listening to the podcast. So let's get into certain conversations for the week. A lot of things that has been happening. I said I was going to talk about, and we're talking about groceries being high and not having to do a whole lot. Listen, SNAP benefits, especially I know for Pennsylvania, they are going to be ending. Nobody's going to be getting their SNAP benefits right now because of the government shutdown for the month of November. And a lot of people have been doing the most. I was posting on Threads. So Threads is like a subsidiary of Instagram. It's like Instagram's Twitter, when Twitter was Twitter. And it is a good vibe there. You can, meet new people there. And when I say meet people, I mean meet people visual. Let me start all over. You are going to virtually meet people that you just click with, that you vibe with. You like what they're talking about. They make sense. They're doing all the things. And so Threads is a great tool if you're on social media. I know it's one more social media to learn. I'm going to tell you that if you've ever used Twitter, or X as it's called now, you can very much run and do on Threads. Speak your mind. Be very vigilant about the things. Don't forget to add a topic. It's very easy to use, and I've been trying to get more and more into it. The problem with me, I'm in too many social medias. So when I pop over to Threads, I pop in, I pop out. I pop in, I pop out. But there have been people who have just built such a great community over there, and I'm going to try to get on to do better. But for now, I'm content with where I'm at with all the social medias that I'm doing. So I had made a post, and I 1,000 stand behind this. I said a lot of us who should attempt to get a gift card or 2, or however many you can afford, and give a gift card of groceries to a family, to a struggling single person, to a mother with kids, a dad with kids, whatever the case may be. And I was encouraging people that if you can do it, go ahead and just get them a gift card. It's going to go to the right place. And if you're concerned or I don't want them to spend certain money, that's fine. Don't get them a regular gift card. Get them a grocery store gift card. That way they can only use it at the grocery store. Do that. And so I posted it thinking, hey, first of all, I'm just going to state my point and then keep it moving. But I discovered that folks is really doing the most. They are beside themselves, upset, frustrated, and mad that I said that. Now, I won't say it's a whole lot, but there was a few that were in there. There was a people who slid in my DMs to tell me that. Listen, I respect people's thought process, but I want us to also be educated. Saying things like people just need to go get a job, even if they were getting benefits all this time and they decided to go get a job right now. Are you okay? You do know that the financial market, the job market is on foolishness right now. It's not the time to just jump up. You can't always just jump up and get a job. But that is the number one thing that people say. They need to hurry up and go get a job. We're not here to feed them. Listen, are there people on these services that abuse it? 1,000%. But most of the people who are on that are working people who do have jobs, but they just don't make enough. And God forbid they would do that to supply the things that their family or themselves may need. So not everybody is on, getting food stamps and SNAP benefits, whatever you want to call it interchangeably, because they just want to be lazy. There are plenty that are abusing it, but that's not by far everybody. There's families that are working hard each day, and that food is going to allow them to be able to get the things that they need, whether it be the food, and they can have to pay their rent towards the food and vice versa. Like at the end of the day, that's what's most important. So again, I encourage people, if you feel led and if you can afford to make sure that you give to someone else. Pick a person, somebody in your life that's been on, whatever services and they need that help. Just give it to them. Just give it to them. Don't ask no questions. Go ahead and get them a gift card and then move on. And if you can do it more than one time, go ahead and do that. Just go ahead and do that. I, again, have to keep saying over and over and over and over and over again. Everybody on SNAP benefits ain't the poorest of poor to the point where, they're not working. They're just sitting with their feet up. That's the misconception. And this misconception that this is only going to affect Black and brown folks, please. Statistically, white people, Caucasian people, whatever word you choose to use, have been using SNAP benefits, aka food stamps, from back in the day a lot more and in a lot more increases than Black and brown people. But we don't want to have that conversation. This is not a black or white. I'm just saying these are what's happening. This is what it is. So when we hear somebody say that they're going to lose their benefits in November, that's going into the Thanksgiving month, which is the most eatiness of the holidays, right? And so you're going into this huge holiday where everybody's bringing out all the things and people can't afford to eat. They won't be able to afford to get the things that they need. Christmas may be a very much extra light because even if everybody came back and somehow received their jobs, a lot of times the government isn't always willing to give back pay. So now if you're in a situation where you're not getting back pay, you have to wait for the next check for you to accumulate a check. You're talking about some time, and in between time, there are only things people can do is either pray that their SNAP benefits come into place, go to a food bank, borrow money from friends and family, and it just becomes a cycle all over again. So if you can and you feel led, go ahead and figure out whom you're going to give this gift card to and help somebody, because again, everybody that's on SNAP benefits is not somebody who's not working. I believe my mom was on it and my mom worked. She would walk us from her house to the babysitter's house. She would go from the babysitter's house, walk to work, from work back to the babysitter's house. And this was the routine every single day. And the only reason why I'm talking about the routine of that is that in that routine, at some point we would get home, we would eat. And she would have food stamps, but she had food stamps in addition to the fact that she was working. She was a single working mom. She was doing what she needed to do. Which rallies me to the next comment. Bad comments, negative comments, comments. This week was the first time that when I posted that thread that somebody made such a big ordeal about people needing to go to work and we're not here to bail you out and all this other stuff. And they immediately came with a negative comment. Now, is it negative or is that they didn't agree? I think it was a little bit of both, because the way that it read, the way that it read, the tone, it felt like I could read the tone by the way that it was read. Here's what I'm not going to do at the age of 44. I'm not about to go back and forth with somebody I can't pull up to their house. Meaning, if I don't know you, then your comments are going to have but so much weight. However, it doesn't change the fact that I'm more than willing to listen. It doesn't change the fact that I can do all these different things. I'm just saying the weight of somebody that I do not know is not going to make or break, or I will not allow that to make or break. And because of that, when I received this bad comment or negative comment or comment that just came from a place of disagreement, I just said, okay. The person did come back into my DMs and they apologized. And I don't know if they really apologized, but I think that they were just trying to clarify that they didn't mean the particular comment for like a horrible thing. They just had their opinion and I had mine. I'm okay with that. As long as there's not disrespect, because a lot of people get these Twitter fingers, some of y'all's fingers must be hurting real bad because y'all will key up on these internet streets. Some of y'all wouldn't even do that in real life, but that's a free nugget. I'm just saying. So yeah, people work. They get benefits because they can't. It supplements what they're not able to pay for. And then it ensures that families, especially here in Pennsylvania, only because I live here in Pennsylvania, is taken care of, that they're not just waiting for the school year to eat because they're hungry because of all these other factors. Listen, that's not the case. So bad comments are going to happen. You have to choose and pick and choose your battles. Is the comment worth even clarifying. Even if they was talking about my most beloved family member, I don't know if I would address it unless the disrespect became outside of a Twitter, outside of a social media post. And now you're posted up at my home, or you're posted up near where my kids go to school, which I don't reveal, but nonetheless, regardless, if this is how people are going to move, I don't have the energy to move with them. I don't. So stop letting these bad comments do your best. I'm sure it gets to you, it gets to me. Do your best to not let it get to you. Do your best to not allow it to separate you from the blessings that you are trying to work so hard for. Because you start throwing hands in 2025, you might not make it alive, because there could be somebody with a whole weapon, right? Number 2, stop always feeling like you have to prove something to somebody, because you don't. All right. 2 mental health conversations came about this week. If you follow me on social media, you know that I made a comment about Gucci Mane. Gucci Mane is a rapper, and he's comes from Atlanta. And let me just say, or he lives in Atlanta now, I should say, but he came out and just talked about how he deals with schizophrenia and different things with his mental health. I 1000%, with 10 toes down, applaud him for using such a platform as the Breakfast Club and being so vulnerable to talk about this, because not everybody is so easily to be able to do that. And here's the thing, when you start talking about your mental health and wellness, even though people mean you well, they will legitimately start to separate themselves because of your illness. I have felt the weight of some friendships that I've had that changed because I was so blunt about the fact that I'm dealing with anxiety, or so blunt about the fact that I deal with depression, or so blunt that I deal with episodic depression, which means it gets triggered from something else that's happening around me, things that may be going on, and it could last for a long time. I'm very open about that. But once you start to share your story, people start to act real funny. So he's using their platform to tell his story, as I believe he has a book coming out. His wife was on the show. They're talking about how she can recognize the triggers. Beautiful. I love that she can recognize the triggers. I'm hoping that he's doing all that he can do to recognize the triggers well. So recognizing the triggers is going to be super helpful, because if you're in the midst of something going on and you're not able to see the light from the day, you're going to need somebody to be able to rightly divide what it is that you are going through and the best way to handle it. One of the things that I learned very early on during my first set of therapy was the fact that the time to get a plan is not when the crisis is happening. The time to get a plan is before the crisis happened. Have a crisis intervention, some type of plan in place if you know that you are prone. First of all, make sure that you are start off by seeing a therapist, a psychotherapist, whatever you may need. Psychotherapists are the ones who, give the medication should you need it, all those things. Do what you need to do for yourself. I'm very open about the fact that I take mental health medicine. It is what it is. It helps me to maintain what I'm going through so that I don't stay in certain periods very long. And Gucci Mane is doing the same thing. He is taking care of himself, taking the medicine, and his wife is a very large part of that process. And I applaud her. One of the things that I did not like about what she said was saying that he could snap out of it, or something about snapping out of it, right? And I made a whole video about it on my social media. I think I talked about it on TikTok, and I believe I talked about it on Instagram. Remember, you can follow me on all social medias as Toy Time Blog. That's TOITIMEBLOG, and you can follow me. But I said that how using the rhetoric, the wording of snapping out of it is extremely dangerous. Here is the reason why. I don't think she meant anything by that. I believe that she's talking about the quicker turnaround that he has personally when dealing with his personal issues, and that she plays a key part in that. Okay. She says she can recognize his triggers by him writing like a period almost after everything that he says. So it's like hi, period, am, period, hungry, period, and then it continues going on. So those are types of examples. But the word snap out of it is very dangerous, because there's so many people who say that to people, especially when they don't understand that their person that they love or they're around is dealing with a trigger. They don't know how to handle that. There's no plan in place. It's easy for you to say, just snap out of it, get over it. You need to be moved on. This was 20 years ago. This was last week. This was last month. And it doesn't always work that way. The snap out doesn't happen. So for somebody else that's listening to that interview and saying, well, why can't I snap out? I feel like I'm in some type of depression fog, which is very much true a thing. I need us to understand that she's just describing the fact that she's able to get him through his triggers a lot quicker. And I love that for them, because a lot of people like myself who are in some type of mental health and wellness space, and you're trying to take care of yourself, you're trying to encourage a community to do the same, it can be a little out of pocket when you're dealing with people and their word choices, because a lot of people don't understand the concept of not saying certain things. So please be aware, never say the word snap. You should just be able to snap out of it. Why haven't you gotten past this? Why haven't you moved on? Because they're not at the place where they can do that. Okay. So that was my biggest and my only issue. I've heard people were talking about this week about the fact that when Charlemagne the God asked her, and then by her I mean Keisha Kayor, about, and that's just what Gucci Mane's wife, about how and who takes care of her. Her immediate response was going back into what she's doing for Gucci Mane. And listen, I get it. I am one of those wives that's very much hands-on. I try to organize what I can. I try to get stuff done ahead and cooking dinner and all the things. But I do recognize that for me, I have to be able to talk to somebody. Me and therapy have to go one-on-one together. We have to, because I need to be able to have a safe space to pour out. And so that was the other thing that I've been hearing people complaining about. I listened to the entire showcase. I thought again that it was great that as a rapper, somebody who's super big, could you talk very openly about that in hopes that other people will do the same, right? That is the hope. Nobody wants to share their story just to share it. It's the hope that it will help someone else. But then we're going to go over to Kevin McCall, who's having it looks to be like almost a nervous breakdown. He's stating that all the money that he had made during Chris Brown, all the different artists that he worked with, he literally is at this point where he has to use an EBT card. Now, I don't want to ever undermine somebody's experience in any of the least of bits. What I can say is that Kevin McCall is having some type of issue, whether it be mentally, whatever it is, emotionally, he's just having these outbursts. Anytime somebody has an outburst, it's not because they just woke up and decided that I'm going to have this outburst. 9 times out of 10 and 10 times out of 9, it is something that's triggering them. And this is what's causing them to do that. Now, does that mean that this person can get a pass like Kevin McCall is trying to do? His bad behavior has been so documented, from the hits of the mother of his child to other women celebrities who again have lived in the tutelage of whatever mental health breakdown is happening. And Kevin McCall is clearly going through something, because you can just tell, and he's crying, he's snotting, and he's almost like imaginarily like floating down the wall. But the other part of that is, you got to take the time to decide, is it worth me going on a show if I know or I feel I'm not feeling myself? Probably not. Probably not. Keisha Kayor is doing a great job. She just needs to figure out who can help her and get all the things done. Like bring a masseuse in, bring this in, like figure all of those things out, because mental health is debilitating. I don't think that Kevin McCall is crying in like crocodile tears, as my mom would call them. But I do believe that there is some validity in the fact that getting to people who are dealing with whatever they're dealing with mentally is key. Knowing your triggers are key. If you don't know what a trigger is, it's that thing that's inside of you that once somebody touches it, ignites it, starts to turn on, you start to see how your mindset differently will change and be different, I should say. Kevin McCall is having a hard time, because if you go from that type of money and now you're back on the EBT card, or on an EBT card, because I can't say back if I don't know if he was on there originally, it can be very hurtful. I need him to figure that out off camera. I don't feel the same way about Kevin McCall's interview as much as I do about Gucci Mane. I don't think they're the same. They're not on the same level. It's just not. But 2 different people have shared their mental health story, or what makes them tick and the things that they're going through. 2 people that I know have shared that story. And it just continues to remind me that what you think you see of someone may not necessarily be. A lot of things, especially in this industry of media, is very obscure. It's going to go by whomever is sitting at the moment. And that's it. And that's how that's going to go. So yes, should you know your triggers? 1000%. You should know your triggers. You should start writing them down in case you're not able to remember it. Write these things down. Then you need to figure out, again, while you're under the care of a therapist or psychotherapist or a combination of the two, what are you going to do to get yourself to the point where the triggers last a little shorter? That's where the whole snap out and stuff from Keisha Kior came in. So let's get into the movie of the week that everybody's been talking about, is on Netflix, The Perfect Neighbor. Listen, I actually followed the story before it became a big thing on Netflix, and to hear how much, as the mother who had passed away, unfortunately, due to the neighbor who unfortunately killed her, the issue is that how do we get there? How do we get to these places where you can live amongst other people, and because everybody's not doing everything that somebody else wants, that we can do things and cause harm to other people without any remorse? When she was originally, and this is sad to say, but when the neighbor who unfortunately killed the young lady involved and her, with the kids and all the things, she shrugged her shoulder like, no big deal. 25 ain't nothing. I'll be back out. I found that to be disturbing, because you have to be somebody that's deranged. You would really have to be touched in the head to think that it's okay to have any of those things happen and you cause harm or kill someone. And everybody's supposed to be like, it's fine. It's fine. They were bothering me first. I just find that to be very much interesting. And so if you haven't had the chance to, I suggest that you should go ahead and watch it. It's one of the top watches of this time, but also keep in mind that these things are not isolated. There are a lot of people who are dealing with the same types of levels of things that's going on. You can't just take matters into your own hand. You cannot lie to the police to get your own way. You can't do all of these things. Now, I don't know per se what things like Kevin McCall's actual issues are. What I can say is that what I saw in that video clip of him upset and he's crying, he's got all these things going on, can be hurtful, and it can mess with your head. I ain't gonna sit up in here and lie and make it seem as if you're just supposed to just move forward, because that would be me saying the same thing I'm calling out Keisha Kior about snapping out, and that's not appropriate. With The Perfect Neighbor, I found the story to be incredibly sad. I feel as if the mother tried to do everything that she could to prevent this from even happening. And the one thing I can say is that her life should be at the utmost respected, even though this is a journalistic video or viewpoint of what actually took place. Let's also remember the kids. They are suffering greatly, because nobody should have to lose their parent because of a raggedy neighbor. I have several neighbors on my block. One that lives right next to me, she is absolutely everything. She treats my kids like their grandkids. She's just not upset because on a Saturday you may hear them sliding or coming down the steps. None of those things are an issue when you have a good neighbor. But when you have this storm of a neighbor who has lost her marbles, who is doing everything to weaponize the police against you as a family, this is what happens. So, it has been very much an episode and a lot of stuff going on. In the show notes, I'm going to leave some resources for people who need free or discounted services for when it comes to groceries and things. First of all, contact your local food bank. That's always a great place to start. I don't know how many of you that are listening that have Aldi's next to you or near you where you can get to it. They have whole dinners for like $40, which you cannot beat. They pretty much pre-package it and show you all the things that's in it. And I think it's a great idea. Help somebody else, bring somebody else around your space. If there's a family member that you know, a friend that you know is going to be spending that holidays and this holiday season by themselves, just include them in your plans. At least extend the invitation. Just go ahead and extend it. So look for that out in the show notes. What else do I want to talk about? Because I want to make sure that we end everything on this particular episode. I want to make sure we get this right. But what's been going on in my world, I want to end the podcast. We talked about, again, these triggers that people are going through. Gucci Mane is talking about his own. Keisha Cure, his wife, is learning how to not necessarily manipulate, but try to work around what he may need, setting in place the things that are necessary. Again, we preface not using the word snap out of it when you're talking to loved ones. Here is the thing I do want to say and add to that before we talk about what's going on with my personal space, is that when people use your trigger against you, you have got to make sure you are ready for that mental blow. I'm going to tell you straight from the gate that it can and will happen. It has happened. It can and will mess with your head if you allow it to. And you don't have to be bionic. You can say something is getting on my nerves, or I'm hurt by something that somebody says, but people will and can use not just in the court of law, but also in your space where they want to come against you about what's going on. So just be careful, be mindful. Yeah, I don't know why I felt the need to say that. But this week has been interesting. So we are in the beginning stages of trying to help my son navigate and find his high school that he's going to be going to. Because when I lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, we literally knew what high school we were going to. Then there was McCaskey and then a McCaskey East. I went to John Pearsall McCaskey High School. And we knew that whatever junior high you went to, which was according to where you lived, everybody would funnel from those junior highs to the high school. That's just the ebb and flow. It was no different alternatives. But now, having my son go through the process as I had with my daughter when she did it, is the fact that we're filling out applications as if these kids are going to college, right? They want to know all the things about you, and I'm not against it. The other part of it is taking the tours. So that's what we've been doing this week. We took a tour. I'm not sure about if this is going to be a number one pick. I'm not sure. I can't say with all certainty. What I can say is that we can just look at all of the schools, try to have my son's shadow, and figure this out. That's it. That is it. That's what's happening for this week. My husband and I have been trying to conquer and divide to make sure we get all the things, that we're not missing anything. So it's been extremely fun. And what else did this week to happen this week? So we're doing college tours. My oldest took her PSATs. Soon she's going to take her SATs in the spring, and those are going to really, really matter. And that's what's been going on. My youngest has been sick a little bit because these changes of weather is going to up and down, up and down. I'm not the only parent that has to keep telling it. I'm sure that has to keep telling a child or a teenager to, first of all, wash that hoodie. Get in the spirit of putting that thing in the wash machine every week. And then the other part, when I'm not dealing with the whole clothing thing, is just encourage my kids, hey, get back to that old school hand washing. Hand washing will save you all the things. But of course, I'm just the mom. So, they look at me like I got three eyes. I'm still going to encourage my kids to make sure they're dressed appropriately, because that is what matters. Sometimes schools are not as regulated. My oldest, her school was brick cold when we were there, and parts that we were at when I felt that chill was when we were packing up the lunches to help other people. And that chill, that cold, this season, all these things, I'm not particularly fond of. So we did PSATs. We're preparing for the SATs. We have my youngest that's recovering from a really, really bad cold. My middle child, I should say, is preparing to figure out what high school he wants to go to. For me personally, I don't think I did anything this week that I felt was super fun, super whatever. I will say that I did enjoy just a couple of minutes or moments of downtime. We are coming back from Lancaster again. My son had another tournament this past weekend. And so I had to get my life back together. It took me a minute to unpack and get things cleaned up. And the biggest thing, cleaning up, is vacuuming for me. I can't stand coming to my house and seeing a bunch of stuff all over the floor. My floor is like a burgundy. So it's hard to disguise when you have stuff on the floor. It's going to come up. So yeah, taking care of myself, doing little things I enjoy. Reading has been one of those things that I really enjoy. So I'm already, like I said, on my third book. And we talked about so many different topics. I do want to leave you with the one thing. Listen, the holiday season is coming. There's no way of getting around it. Some of y'all are going to send them kids out to do the trick-or-treating, and by the time they get back, it's going to be a Christmas house. And actually, I love that. But I say all that to say, I said it 2 episodes before, is that this is one of the hardest seasons that people will get hit with. Let's go ahead and try to show some concern, show some care to those who are around us. I'm encouraging you to do that while I'm doing the same, because it does matter. It absolutely does. But I really want us to take the time to just figure out the fact that Thanksgiving, these holidays are going to hit, and they're going to hit hard. People cannot afford to eat and feed their families. If you can afford to help with a food basket or something for somebody, go ahead and do it. We got to get back to that whole community feel. I love the fact that throughout Philadelphia, there is these little bins that you can put, food in there, so that if somebody needs something, take something, no questions asked. I love that for us. Again, if you can help a family or a a family member or a friend, go ahead and give them that gift card to whatever store that they need to get stuff from. And especially because you don't want to give a person access to too many things that they don't need. But look out for somebody else. Think about somebody else. Put somebody else's needs in the forefront. I don't want to hear from especially women say, well, I gave my life. I've had these kids. That's beautiful. You were the vessel that God chose, but that doesn't mean your work is done. You still have things to do. So let's look out for one another. Let's look out for our kids. Let's be a community. Let's gift to everybody that needs it when they need it, and do it appropriately so that nobody feels like somebody's getting over. Let's just, again, everybody has to work. Everybody has to work to come together, because there's nobody in our communities that we are living in that should be on the struggle bus that doesn't have what they need. Okay. All right. That is the episode. I'm going to get it up. I'm going to get this episode up. So that is the episode for Friday, which is today. And this is the 24th. And we have another busy weekend coming up with some trunk and treats and costume timing. It's a lot going on. So have the most amazing day. Take care of you. Find at least one activity that you absolutely love that you can't see yourself without. Find that activity and make sure that you're doing it as much as possible. All right. Sending love your way. I hope you have a great, great weekend as well as a week next week.
Thank you as always for joining me. And I know that even in the deepest or joyful conversations, that there's something we can learn and apply. Until next time, I hope that you are doing better. If not, we will be back to talk some more and handle it. Peace to you and yours. Stay grounded.